Okay, I wanted to do a little bit of quiz review for week 3 quiz, and then also talk about the topics for the week real quick. This week is focused a lot on physical security, and before we start, let's review the types of controls. This is actually from the Red Hat site, but I'll put a link below to this. And security controls are physical, technical, and administrative. So physical controls, what we're predominantly focusing on this week, are all the physical controls, like the physical plant or material theft from inside the individual site. Okay, technical controls, and again, as if you're a cybersecurity major or cybersecurity specialist, this is where you're going to spend most of your time, is on technical controls, deploying and testing and evaluating the effectiveness and the cost effectiveness and the return on investment of technical controls. So, encryption, smart cards, okay. Administrative controls. They don't really mention this in here, I don't think, but it's also operations security controls. And that would include things like clean desk policy, least privilege, rotation of jobs, mandatory vacations, and that kind of stuff, but also like end user agreements, most onboarding controls, exiting procedures. When somebody gets fired, they obviously shouldn't have an account to be able to access corporate resources and things. So all that kind of stuff is under this third one, administrative controls. Okay, with that in mind, I kind of had a question about this second sentence here. Was about, majority of security personnel earn their living in the realm of physical security. And this is less true than it used to be, but remember, if you think of all the physical security controls out there, that includes all home automation and security systems. I should just say home security systems, but also like, video camera, IP cameras outside, and there's a lot of homes that have that kind of stuff. So that includes all that, plus all the police forces and things like that. So I would have to grudgingly admit that they're right on this. So different kind of access control measures. So I guess they're kind of mixing the two, but remember, they're separate. Access control is generally refers to technical controls, and then a physical control may include like a gate. I guess that could be physical access control, but usually in this field, when you say access controls, you're thinking of things like Kerberos authentication, two-factor authentication, that kind of stuff, and also the ACLs, or access control lists, applied to company resource. I'm just saying. Okie dokie. So let's see if they bridge the gap here on access control. Okay, yeah, they're sticking, they're using access control under the heading of physical controls. So, okay. But just that's fine, but just be aware, in the cyber realm, when you say access controls, you're generally not talking about physical controls. It's okay if, like they did here, you specify you're talking about physical controls. Yeah, so they kind of expand on the CIA triad. Non-repudiation is, of course, if you sign something with your private key, which is part of the public-private key set, that means that only you could have signed it, because only you have access to that private key. So yeah, you can go through and read this. Let's talk a little bit about, I had some questions. I posted something earlier on public key, and I had some questions on it, so I want to review that. And I'm going to actually try to do this as a slide, and hopefully this won't mess up my video, but we'll try it anyway. Let's see here. Not sure if this screen's going to quite fit, but this was on secure web sessions. It's a little different. I've changed it. Okay. One thing I wanted to go over is, does the public key and the private key, which are part of the public key cryptography infrastructure, they fit together like puzzle pieces, okay? I mean, there's only one, private key that will work with the public key, obviously, but, they're cut from the same cloth, and they're in a matched set. I just want to emphasize that because I had questions on that. So, so the public key crypto is a lock and key system, both the lock and the key. In symmetrical encryption, the same key is used to encrypt and decrypt covert communication. So, mathematically, this is really easy to illustrate. If you take a number, your secret number, and then you add another number, and you ship it off, and the receiver subtracts the number you added, he'll be left with the first number. So if you take a number and add something to it and then subtract it, you have that original number, right? And that, I think, is the easiest way to explain symmetrical encryption. But the problem with that is, of course, anybody that knows the number you added can subtract it, because it's pretty easy to do, right? And then they'll have that original secret number, right? So, thank you for doing that. Okay, asymmetrical encryption is a different key is used to encrypt and decrypt, as we illustrated. Like here, these are two different puzzle pieces that fit together, but they're different. So that's illustrative of asymmetrical encryption. Session key is a symmetrical key that's used to encrypt the web session using the addition subtraction thing that we just talked about. And a private key, now I should have put this in, public key set consists of both the public key and the private key. So the private key is the part that the user sends out, or that the user keeps secret, while sending out the public key for his people that he wishes to send him private messages. He sends that out to everyone. So the best way to look at this again is a lockbox. So you have, doesn't matter who has the lockbox. Everybody could have it. All you could do is put something in it and lock it, right? So if you want to, if I want to send you a secret message, I'll put it in the box, lock it, send it to you. So when you have it, you can use the private key in the locked lockbox to what? Open it, right? So then you retrieve your secret message. And how this works is the client sends a message to the server. I'd like to set up a private encrypted session, and this is the ciphers I have, and this is my encryption software versions. So that goes to the server. So the server says, okay, I can use this cipher and this version of encryption software, and here's my public certificate. And it sends that back to the client. Now, inside the public, or inside the server's certificate, there is a public key, which is what we discussed earlier. The certificate also verifies the identity. You don't want to accidentally type in Amazon.com, you want to type in Amazon.com. You want to make sure that the website you're doing transactions with is legitimate, right? And it also has a digital signature of the public key. So that makes it hard to forge, right? And then other metadata about the digital certificate making it hard to forge and verifying identity. So the client receives a certificate and it verifies it. Now, on its own, it generates a new random session key. It takes the public key that it was out of that certificate and uses that to encrypt the session key, and it sends the encrypted session key back to the server. So that's what goes to the server. Now the server gets it, and the server uses its private key to decrypt the session key. So now both the client and the server have the session key, which is then used for the duration of the secure session. So let me know if that cleared up your questions on this. I really want you to get this concept because it's kind of important and a lot of people don't understand it. It's hard to understand, you know, don't get me wrong. I mean, I want to make it as simple as I can for you guys, and that's why I'm going out of my way for this. But it's important. It's an important concept, and I think you'll be ahead of most of your peers if you have a pretty good understanding of it. So that's why it's important. Okay, let's talk about the quiz. And I'm not going to actually throw this up on the screen. Sorry about that. But let me just say some things in general. When conducting legal research, you want to maybe look at digest and summaries, case reports, and reporters. Why is that? Why do you want to look at reports? Because I hate to tell you this, but reporters have a viewpoint that makes it into their stories. What they choose to cover a lot of times is their viewpoint, and they'll disregard huge things to cover something that is more up their ideological alley. But anyway, use all three, right? Physical security planning includes most everything that a question can throw at you, as long as, you know, check and make sure. But let's just say, okay, a breakdown in security procedures or physical security protection is called what? Well, let me give you a hint. It's the same thing they call it when data in rest, like sitting back in a database, is breached. Okay, it's the same term that they use for that. Keying systems include master, submaster, change, and grandmaster. Sounds like chess players or something, right? Why is the legal term respondent superior important to the contract security industry? Let me just say that's in Chapter 7 of your reading. Physical security begins at the perimeter. That's in Chapter 9. Overall, who is responsible for organizational security program and why? I would say overall, executive management are responsible for spearheading it, funding it, and that answer can be detailed out in Chapters 3 and 4. What are 3 circumstances in which private security officers can legally use force? Self-defense, defense of others, defense of property, Chapter 7. Explain when a polygraph test may be used on current employees. On Chapter 13, I'll leave it at that. Okay, thanks. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching, and good luck on the quiz.